Have you ever felt that, that familiar tension when you're trying to create content that converts?
Mm.
But it feels like the harder you lean into the sell, the less effective your message actually becomes. It's pretty frustrating, isn't it?
Oh, definitely.
That pressure, it often leads to copy that feels forced, maybe overly promotional, even a little salesy.
Yeah, just off.
It's like trying to shout over a crowd only to find everyone just kind of puts their hands over their ears.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And in today's world, which is just saturated with marketing messages, audiences are, well, they're highly resistant to those traditional pushy approaches.
Right.
That old school style, the overly promotional stuff, it doesn't just fall flat anymore. It actually erodes the trust you've worked so hard to build.
Hmm.
So today, we're not talking about, new manipulation tactics or anything like that.
No.
We're talking about aligning your communication with your genuine values and, this is crucial, with your audience's real needs.
That's why today we're taking a deep dive into why authenticity beats hype in copywriting. We're going to unpack how to cut through all that noise, build genuine connections, and ultimately convert more naturally and, well, more effectively.
Let's get into it.
Okay, so let's dig into this core tension. You want results, you need conversions for your business, right? But you refuse to compromise your integrity or talk down to your audience.
Yeah, that's the balancing act.
And today, the challenge isn't just capturing attention anymore, it's about maintaining trust while you're guiding prospects. So here's a thought for you listening. How much revenue could you potentially be leaving on the table just because your content feels a bit too salesy?
It's a big question.
Yeah.
Because the fundamental shift is really how people buy now.
Yeah.
They're so much more informed, definitely more skeptical, and far more value conscious than ever before.
Right. They do their homework.
They absolutely do.
Mm.
They're not looking to be sold to anymore. They're looking for someone who genuinely understands their problems and, crucially, can genuinely help solve them.
Someone they can trust.
Exactly. Those high-pressure tactics, sure, they might snag a quick short-term conversion, maybe, but they often really damage long-term relationships.
Yeah, burns bridges.
Totally.
Mm.
In contrast, content that truly builds trust,
Yeah.
that creates customers who not only buy repeatedly but, enthusiastically refer others, it's a foundational shift, really, from just a transaction to building a relationship.
Okay, so think about this. Have you ever paused mid-scroll because an ad seemed to, well, it felt like it read your thoughts?
Oh, yeah. Happens sometimes.
It's that rare moment, right? When the words feel like they were plucked directly from your own mind.
Mhm.
That signals a creator who has truly mastered audience empathy.
Audience empathy, that's the key.
Yeah.
It transforms ordinary marketing into content that connects and converts without ever feeling like a hard sell.
How does it do that?
Oh, when people feel truly understood, they buy more easily. Simple as that. Why? Because specific language that mirrors their exact experience, it slips past those mental filters.
The sales detector filters.
Yeah, exactly. Those filters that usually reject generic, spray and pray messaging. If someone can articulate your problem using your exact words, you immediately lean in, don't you?
You do. You think, wait, they get me.
Right. You wonder, what else do they know about my situation?
And that deep connection, it creates some really powerful, almost invisible benefits. You get reduced friction, for one. Readers don't need to work hard to translate your message.
Makes it easy for them.
Exactly. You also see decreased perceived risk because, well, if you understand their problems so well, they naturally trust you'll understand the solution.
Yeah, makes sense.
Then there's heightened word of mouth. People share content that articulates their own experiences better than they could themselves.
Oh, that's a good point. This explains exactly how I feel.
Precisely. And crucially, you get extended customer lifetime value because relationships built on that kind of empathy just outlast those built purely on transactions.
It's more sustainable.
Totally. There was a sauce startup we looked at. They rewrote their homepage using verbatim phrases they pulled directly from customer interviews.
Just lifted the exact words.
The exact words. Their bounce rate dropped a staggering 38%, and their demo requests shot up by 42% just from using the customer's language.
Wow. So how do we cultivate this deep empathy then? It's not just about feeling sorry for someone.
Right. It's different from sympathy.
It really is. It's about understanding the job to be done. Think about it. A lawnmower customer isn't just buying a machine to cut grass.
What are they buying?
They're hiring a solution, maybe for neighborhood status, maybe just for managing their weekend time better.
Ah, the underlying need.
Exactly. When you frame your offering around that deeper job, your message becomes instantly more relevant. The absolute key is to document the exact words people use.
Where do you get those words?
Lots of places. One-on-one interviews are great for deep insights. Surveys, support tickets, just listening in on social media, even web analytics can give clues.
You just need to capture that language.
Capture it. Document it. Once you have those insights, you mirror that exact language in your copy.
Think about the difference between, say, our innovative platform streamlines business communications.
That's very corporate.
Right. Versus finally stop the endless email chains eating up your workday.
Oh, yeah. Much better. More visceral.
Infinitely more powerful. And that second one came directly from a customer interview. This isn't just selling anymore. It's really serving. It's meeting them where they are.
You know that feeling when you get a text message?
Yeah.
And you instantly know who sent it, even before you see the name?
Yeah, totally. You recognize their style.
Exactly. That's the power of a distinctive brand voice.
Yeah.
It transforms selling from this awkward pitch into a natural, recognizable conversation.
That's what we call your voice print of authenticity. It's unique to you. And it's important to distinguish your voice is your brand's stable personality, while your tone is how that personality adjusts to different situations.
So voice is who you are, tone is how you say it in context. Precisely. And this authentic voice print, it emerges from three interconnected layers: your core values, your specific personality traits, and your linguistic markers. Those signature words or phrases you tend to use regularly. Like maybe you always say, absolutely.
Okay, so how do you find this natural voice if you're not sure what it is yet?
Good question. You start by examining real-world language samples. Look at your founder's origin story. Maybe customer testimonials, even internal team conversations can be revealing.
Like, how do we actually talk?
Yeah, exactly. Ask yourself things like, which three adjectives do our customers consistently use to describe our brand? Or what are our non-negotiable values? Things we always stand for.
Okay.
From there, you pinpoint specific attributes, like how formal or informal is your brand? Do you use humor? Is it witty or more serious? What's the tempo? Short sentences, varied rhythm. Do you use concrete examples or vivid metaphors?
Getting really specific.
You have to. For instance, a personalized styling service we studied, they distill their voice down to three core traits: conversational, informed, and encouraging.
Okay, I can picture that.
Right. And just having that clarity led to a 20% increase in conversion rate for first-time visitors. Why? Because their website finally sounded like a knowledgeable friend giving honest, helpful advice.
That makes sense. Consistency builds trust. So once you've identified your voice, how do you ensure it stays consistent? Especially as teams grow or you bring on freelancers.
That's where voice guardrails come in. You need to set some boundaries. A brief voice manifesto, maybe just 2 sentences, can act as your North Star.
Like a mission statement for your voice.
Kinda, yeah. Then a do's, don'ts, and maybes framework helps define the boundaries for creativity. What's definitely on brand, what's off, and what needs context.
Okay.
And a tone dial is useful too. It helps you consciously adjust the tone based on the context and maybe your customer's emotional state, all while staying true to your core voice.
So you can be empathetic without losing your identity.
Exactly, because inconsistency really does erode trust. People get confused. So a comprehensive voice and tone style guide is key, like the famous one MailChimp has. Plus, you need regular content audits to catch any drift early on.
Makes sense.
Your authentic voice, when it's instantly recognizable, consistent, and adaptable, becomes a hugely powerful conversion asset. It makes selling feel natural.
Okay, I have a quick story for you. A friend of mine recently signed up for one of those meal kit services, and she did it after hearing a podcast host share this really personal, funny story about a cooking disaster that eventually turned into a small personal victory with the help of the kit. She told me she never even heard a formal pitch.
Huh. That's brilliant. That's the quiet power of a story right there.
Exactly. So why do stories sell when plain copy often falls flat?
It's fascinating, actually. Stories essentially make our brains switch off their built-in sales alarms. When you read a bulleted list of features, your analytical brain is active, probably skeptical, but stories. They trigger neurochemical responses. Oxytocin, the trust hormone, floods our system. Mirror neurons fire, making us feel what the protagonist feels. Multiple memory centers activate.
Wow, okay.
This creates something called narrative transportation, where our defenses against persuasion just kind of drop.
So you get sucked in.
You get sucked in.
Yep.
Think about the difference in engagement. Plain copy might hold attention for, 8 seconds? With maybe 10% recall later?
If you're lucky.
Right. But story-driven copy, it can command 4 to 7 minutes of attention with recall rates jumping to 65–70%.
That's a huge difference.
Massive. Think about campaigns like Patagonia's Worn Wear. They didn't just sell used jackets, they shared the adventure tales of those pre-loved jackets. That moved people emotionally and transformed the idea of secondhand.
That's powerful. So how can we structure stories effectively in our copy?
A really useful framework is the three-part conversational narrative. You need a relatable hero, then rising tension, and finally, a transformative payoff. And crucially, maintain your brand voice throughout the whole thing.
Okay, break that down for us. Relatable hero.
So you introduce a protagonist your audience instantly recognizes, someone who embodies their frustrations, their aspirations, and use that exact phrasing you gathered from your research.
So not just a business owner, but...
But maybe May, the freelance designer, staring at her outdated portfolio again, feeling that dread about lost opportunities. Use specifics from your research.
Got it. Then, rising tension.
Here, you layer in specific obstacles and frustrations that mirror the audience's own challenges. You're creating an open loop, making them wonder what happens next. So May's outdated site isn't just embarrassing, it's actively burning potential client opportunities. Then, maybe a dream agency requests her portfolio by tomorrow, and that familiar knot of anxiety tightens in her stomach.
Woo! I feel that. Okay, transformative payoff.
This is where you show the change. Measurable change, both tangible, like time or revenue saved, and emotional, like newfound confidence or peace of mind. And here's the key. Position your offering as the enabler of the hero's success, not the hero itself.
So the customer is the hero, your product is the guide.
Precisely. So May discovers a specialized portfolio system, your product, and she updates her site beautifully in just 90 minutes. The agency partner calls, saying it's the most navigable portfolio we've seen all month, and invites her to pitch their flagship project. Relief, success.
That paints a picture.
And remember, sometimes small moments of friction overcome or little reliefs experienced resonate more authentically than huge dramatic transformations. Look for those narrative seedlings in support tickets, interviews, community forums. Build a story bank.
Okay, let's switch gears slightly. How do you react when you get an email that starts with, "We noticed you didn't complete your purchase"?
Yeah. Feels a bit like being called out.
Right. Compare that to something like, "Quick question about your experience with our checkout." The second one often works better, doesn't it?
Much better. It feels helpful, not accusatory.
Exactly. It prioritizes your needs. And that's the heart of ethical persuasion. It really addresses this huge trust gap we see everywhere. Data, like from the Edelman Trust Barometer, shows something like 81% of consumers say trust determines their purchases.
Okay.
But only about 34% actually trust the brands they buy from. That's a massive disconnect.
It really is. And it highlights that persuasion tools themselves, things like scarcity or social proof, they're neutral. It's the intention behind them that matters.
Right.
Ethical persuasion is about giving people what they need and making decisions easier for them, not harder. It has to align with that audience empathy we talked about and stay within your voice guardrails.
So how do you check yourself?
Before implementing any tactic, run it through this simple 3-question ethics check. First, is it true? Second, is it clear? And third, is it helpful?
True, clear, helpful. I like that.
If the answer isn't yes to all three, rethink it. Remember that example of the fashion brand with the countdown timer, the one that just reset after expiring?
That's terrible.
Customers noticed immediately, felt manipulated, and trust just evaporated. Huge backlash. That failed the "is it true" test spectacularly.
Definitely. Okay, so let's talk about some common persuasion triggers, the big four maybe, and how to use them ethically.
Sounds good. First up, reciprocity. That's the natural human urge to give back when someone gives us something.
Like free samples.
Exactly. Ethically, you offer free, genuinely useful resources. Think a comprehensive retirement calculator, not just a super basic tool that forces you to sign up for the real value. It creates goodwill, not a feeling of obligation.
Makes sense. What's next?
Second, authority. We naturally trust perceived experts. Ethically, you showcase real expertise. Use credentials, solid data, client results, maybe transparent founder stories. But every claim you make must be substantial, no puffery. Third is social proof. The comfort we find in numbers, knowing others have made the same choice. Ethical social proof uses real reviews, real user quotes, and studies show something like 97% of consumers are influenced by reviews.
Wow, almost everyone.
Right. And interestingly, even showing some imperfect feedback can actually increase credibility. It feels more real than pages of just 5-star reviews.
Good point. And the last one, Scarcity.
Yes, scarcity. That taps into the fear of missing out, or FOMO. Ethically, scarcity communicates true limits and provides clear explanations. For example, we only have 15 spots available this semester because I work closely with each student individually. That's legitimate.
Versus a fake timer counting down to nothing.
Exactly. That's manipulative.
Yeah.
You can strategically weave these triggers throughout the buyer journey, maybe use authority and reciprocity early on in the awareness stage, then bring in social proof during the consideration stage, and apply real, justified scarcity closer to the decision stage.
And all along, you need to be monitoring those trust signals you mentioned earlier.
Absolutely. Keep an eye on things like unsubscribe rates, direct feedback, maybe your Net Promoter Score, NPS. These can give you early warnings if something feels too pushy or isn't landing right before it causes real damage to your brand.
Have you ever landed on a website and just found yourself scrolling down the page effortlessly, almost pulled along?
Yeah, some pages just flow really well.
That's not an accident, right? That's strategic structure combined with everything we've talked about. Audience understanding, an authentic voice, compelling stories, and those ethical triggers. It's like the invisible architecture of soft selling.
That's a great way to put it. The strategic content structure for soft selling really boils down to three key parts: magnetic headlines, an engaging flow, and natural calls to action.
Okay, let's start with magnetic headlines. They're super important, right? Their main job is just to earn that first micro yes, the decision to keep reading.
Exactly. They need to stop the scroll. Good ones blend specificity, relevance to the reader's problem, and just enough intrigue to make them curious.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Compare a generic headline like email marketing tips for small businesses.
Okay, kind of dry.
Right. Compare that to something like how 3 overwhelmed solopreneurs doubled their open rates without writing more emails.
Ah, much more specific, benefit-driven, and intriguing. Who are these solopreneurs? How did they do it?
Precisely. Effective headline patterns often use formats like how-to plus specific outcome plus maybe a time frame, or frame it as problem relief. Using direct customer quotes can also work wonders. And importantly, use empathetic words like unlock, discover, or simplify, rather than aggressive ones like crush or dominate.
Okay, makes sense. What about the flow that pulls readers forward? How do you create that?
A key technique is creating open loops. These are subtle questions or promises within the text that hint at valuable revelations coming up later in the piece. It keeps people engaged, wanting the answer.
The little cliffhangers.
Kind of, yeah. You also want to use transitional phrases, sometimes called bucket brigades, like, here's the interesting part, or what does this mean for you? These act like signposts, maintaining momentum.
And the physical structure matters too, right? How it looks on the page.
Hugely important, especially now. People scan online content, often in an F pattern reading across the top, then down the left side scanning across occasionally. So you need to break long blocks of text into short, scannable chunks like 2 or 3 lines per paragraph max.
White space is your friend.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Use visual hierarchy, effectively different font sizes, bolding key phrases, bullet points, plenty of white space, and always prioritize accessibility. Good color contrast, alt text for images, reasonable line length.
Got it. And the final piece, calls to action, CTAs, that feel like next steps, not demands.
Yes, they should emerge naturally from the content. If you've just explained a problem and hinted at your solution, the CTA to learn more feels logical, not forced. Frame the action as a helpful choice, not an obligation.
How do you write strong CTA copy?
3 simple steps usually work well. 1. Start with a clear verb. Download, start, discover, learn. 2. State the specific benefit the user will get. Download your template. Start your free trial. Discover the framework. 3. Add timing if it's helpful or relevant. Download your template today. Start your free trial this week.
That's clear. I also heard that using first-person language on buttons can make a difference.
It can make a huge difference. Testing shows buttons like yes, I want my free guide often outperform generic ones like submit or get your copy by significant margins, sometimes up to 90%.
Wow.
Yeah, it puts the user in control. Also, don't forget helpful microcopy right near the CTA button, things like cancel anytime, no credit card required. These reduce perceived risk. And finally, place your CTA strategically at natural pause points or decision points in the content flow.
Okay, so we've talked about crafting this authentic message, but people interact with brands across so many channels now. I think I read somewhere that 78% of buyers interact with at least 2 channels before making a purchase.
That sounds about right. It's rarely a single touch point anymore, which means you absolutely need a system to adapt your authentic message naturally across all these different platforms. You can't just copy paste.
Right. So how do you maintain authenticity but also fit the platform?
This is what we call adaptive authenticity. The key is understanding the distinction between your content core and your platform presentation.
Okay, what's the difference?
Your content core is consistent everywhere. That includes your deep audience insights, your established authentic voice, your core story elements, and your ethical persuasion triggers.
Yeah.
That stuff doesn't change.
That's the foundation.
Exactly. Your platform presentation, however, is tailored. You adjust the format, the tone slightly, the length of visuals to match the specific environment, and importantly, the reader's mental state on that platform. Someone scrolling Instagram is at a different headspace than someone reading a detailed blog post.
So how do you make sure you're hitting the right note on each channel without, spending all day reinventing the wheel every single time?
A great approach is content atomization. You take a larger piece of content, maybe a deep dive blog post or a webinar, and you break it down into smaller, digestible parts.
Like repurposing.
Kind of, but smarter. You're not just repeating yourself, you're creating an ecosystem where each piece reinforces the others. So that blog post might become several insightful social media posts, maybe a couple of email snippets, perhaps a short video script. Each piece offers value on its own, but also potentially points back to the core content.
Okay, that makes sense. Can you give specifics for a few key channels? Like how would you adapt for a blog versus email versus social?
Sure. Your blog is usually your main hub. It's where you do the deep dives, build SEO authority. So here you use clear subheadings, maybe images, data visualizations. You can include medium commitment CTAs. Actually, you've really solved a pain point for the reader. And it's a great place to weave in those verbatim customer quotes we talked about. Like, I kept putting Band-Aids on my broken content process until I realized.
Got it. Email.
Email should feel much more personal, almost like a one-on-one letter. Use a strong, intriguing subject line. Front-load the key insight, get straight to the point. Use ultra-short paragraphs, maybe a slightly chattier tone. Definitely invite replies to encourage engagement. Stick to one clear CTA per email, though maybe a PS can offer a secondary, lower commitment ask. Reciprocity works really well in email, offering exclusive value.
Okay. And social media.
Social is all about stopping the thumb scroll. It demands micro-stories, eye-catching stats, or compelling questions. Break up the copy visually, maybe use emojis sparingly and appropriately. Ask lightweight questions to spark quick engagement. CTAs here should be very gentle, often pointing back to your blog for more detail, or maybe offering a super easy opt-in like a checklist. Social proof testimonials, user stats is especially powerful on social platforms.
So Taylor, how do you manage the workflow without burning out?
The hub and spoke model helps create the core piece, then atomize. Plan a sustainable rhythm. Don't try to be everywhere all at once. Having a simple one-page style guide checklist can speed things up. You can automate scheduling, sure, but personally engage with comments and replies. That interaction is key to authenticity.
So creating great, authentic copy clearly isn't a one-and-done effort. It sounds like it needs to evolve. How do you measure and iterate effectively but respectfully?
That's a crucial point. It evolves through respectful measurement. We advocate for what we call an ethical analytics framework.
Ethical analytics, what does that mean?
It means choosing metrics that actually align with providing value to your reader, not just boosting your own business outcomes in the short term. You need to contrast vanity metrics, like total page views, which don't tell you much about engagement.
Right, lots of views doesn't mean lots of connection.
Exactly. Contrast those with actionable metrics. Things like time on page, scroll depth, comment quality, email reply rates, maybe even post-purchase satisfaction surveys. These metrics actually encourage you to serve your readers better.
That makes sense. So you're optimizing for value, not just clicks.
Precisely. Beyond the standard analytics dashboards, pay close attention to unsubscribe patterns. Why are people leaving? Look at direct feedback from emails or comments. Analyze qualitative responses from surveys. Even if you're a solo creator, a simple monthly spreadsheet tracking maybe 5-7 key indicators can be incredibly insightful.
Okay, so you gather the data, then what? How do you test improvements ethically?
Then you engage in an ethical A/B testing cycle. First, form a clear hypothesis based on your data or audience feedback. I believe using a more empathetic subject line will increase open rates because. Second, create a variant change only one element at a time. This is critical.
Why only one element?
Because if you change the headline, the intro, and the CTA all at once and conversions go up, you have no idea which change actually made the difference. Or worse, you might inadvertently drift away from your core voice. So change just the subject line tone, or just the story placement, or just the button wording.
Okay, one change, then what?
Then you split your traffic. Run the test, observe the results objectively, and make data-informed decisions. We saw an example where testing an empathetic subject line against a purely feature-focused one resulted in a 30% higher open rate for the empathetic version. That's a clear insight.
And after the test, it's important to close the feedback loop.
Right. Absolutely essential. Incorporate what you learn from the data and the feedback. And, where appropriate, actually inform your audience about changes you've made based on their input. Sending out a "you spoke, we listened" message when you update a feature or refine your content based on feedback. That kind of visible responsiveness turns the whole feedback process into another trust-building tool.
That's powerful. It shows you're actually listening.
It really does. And throughout all this testing and iteration, you have to consciously guard against metric drift. That's the gradual, often unintentional prioritization of hitting certain numbers over upholding your core values.
How do you prevent that?
Keep revisiting that ethics check before launching any test. Is it true? Is it clear? Is it helpful? Remember, data is your compass to guide you towards serving your audience better. It should not be your dictator, forcing you into tactics that feel wrong.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground. So what does this all really mean when you put it together? We've talked about, let's see, 7 core principles. Deep audience research, finding an authentic voice, using compelling stories, ethical persuasion triggers, strategic structure, platform adaptation, and iterative improvement.
Right. And the key takeaway is that these aren't just isolated tactics. They form a powerful, interconnected system.
A system for what?
A system that consistently leads to stronger engagement, clearer conversions, and just fewer friction points along the customer journey. Why? Because it resonates more deeply. It feels human. We sometimes call this the content flywheel.
The flywheel, like it builds momentum.
Exactly. It's a repeatable loop connecting all these principles. Research informs your voice shapes your stories embed ethical triggers, structure delivers it effectively, adaptation spreads it, and iteration refines the whole process, feeding back into new research.
Yeah.
It builds momentum over time.
That makes sense. It sounds powerful, but maybe a bit overwhelming to implement all at once. Is there a practical way to start?
Definitely. You don't have to boil the ocean. A great way to get started and build rhythm is to use something like a 4-week content sprint template.
Okay, what does that look like?
It provides structure. Maybe week 1 is focused purely on research and ideation, digging into audience insights, logging pain points. Week 2 is drafting and voice polish, maybe creating one long-form cornerstone piece, really honing the voice and cracking initial engagement like time on page.
All right. Week 3?
Week 3 is adaptation and distribution, breaking that cornerstone piece down into platform-specific versions, scheduling them, and monitoring channel engagement. And week 4 is analysis and planning, reviewing the performance data, analyzing conversions and feedback, and planning the next sprint based on what you learned.
That sounds manageable. Breaks it down.
It does. We saw an example, Jamie, a freelance web designer. She used this kind of sprint model. She actually doubled her qualified lead inquiries while decreasing her overall content volume by 40%, because every piece was more targeted and authentic.
Wow. Less content, more results. That's the dream.
It happens when you focus on quality and connection over sheer quantity. To support this kind of system, it's really helpful to build a central content operating system OS.
Like a central dashboard.
Yeah. Basically, a digital hub could be Notion, Airtable, even Google Drive, where you keep everything organized. Your audience research notes, especially those verbatim quotes, your voice guide, your story bank, campaign plans, experiment logs.
Everything in one place.
It makes consistency so much easier. We saw another example, Mark, who sells handmade leather goods online. He compiled over 200 specific phrases his customers use to describe his products and their experience. He then wove these directly into his product descriptions.
And the result?
A 35% increase in sales, just from reflecting his customers' own words back to them.
That's incredible. So when you're reviewing success, how do you measure these real wins beyond just sales?
We recommend using a 3-lens review. First, the quantitative lens. Did the measurable results align with the goals you set? Second, the qualitative lens. What patterns emerged in the feedback, comments, replies? What was the sentiment? And third, the integrity lens.
Integrity lens.
Yeah. Ask yourself, did our content fulfill its promises? Was it true, clear, and helpful? Would you feel genuinely proud showing this piece of content to someone you deeply respect? Sometimes the quantitative results might look good, but the qualitative or integrity lens reveals a problem.
Like that course creator you mentioned.
Exactly. Laura had an email campaign that got her highest conversion rate ever. Great quantitative result. but it also had her highest unsubscribe rate ever. The integrity lens flagged that she'd achieved a short-term gain potentially at the cost of long-term audience goodwill and trust. Being transparent about learning from that, maybe sending a "you spoke, we listened" follow-up, helps rebuild trust. Ultimately, this whole approach is about building sustainable growth pathways, maybe adding team members ethically, using automation wisely, extending to new formats, and fostering a genuine community around your brand.
Wow. Okay. So wrapping this up, it feels like we've really uncovered how to shift from just constantly chasing attention to building genuine, lasting connection. It really boils down to serving, not just selling. And maybe that's the most powerful way to truly stand out today.
I think it is, and it really raises an important question for everyone listening. What if the most effective sales message you can possibly create isn't some clever pitch or perfectly engineered funnel,
Hmm.
but simply a genuine reflection of your audience's own journey, coupled with your authentic desire to help them navigate it?
That's a provocative thought to end on. So the challenge for you listening, what's one small step you'll take this week to make your content feel more authentic? Maybe it's scheduling just one conversation with a customer. Maybe it's drafting that 2-sentence voice manifesto. Or maybe just trying to write one micro story from this new perspective.
Whatever it is, just start. Because remember, authenticity beats hype every single time. It's not just another marketing tactic. It's truly the foundation for lasting success and building real, meaningful connections with the people you hope to serve.